Alright guys, one thing I want to point out when you're building your the turnbuckles for your steering, for the steering links, this one here, the manual calls it part number AX80092 number 4, but that number I think is mistyped, because the parts tree number is AX31032, and it's part number 4 here as well. I couldn't find a 92 anywhere, and checking back at the front of the manual, looking at the parts, pieces, and everything else, I believe this is just is typed wrong. So it should be parts tree AX31032 number 4. These ends here, they're a little different. They've got a little bit of a ridge right here on the edge, kind of like the picture shows. If you see how they look the same, so just something else to be aware of. I just want to point something out when you're putting together the bell crank steering linkage. Just pay real close attention to the direction that it's going, the way these mount. It's a little hard to see in the manual, to be quite honest, but it does appear that the extended crank here, the one with the spring, the servo saver, and all that stuff, is going to be on the left side, and everything else kind of mounts closer into the drives. So I'll get some good pictures of that, post them up there, but just something else to just be aware of. All right. Putting together some more pieces here of the steering, the front end. This is the top plate for the steering linkages. Just note that the manual calls it AX31047 part 1. Parts tree is AX31048 part 1. So just be aware. And then this other piece, this is a metal piece. So just be aware. All right, one thing I want you to note when you're putting the chassis, the main chassis, into the front end. It's a little fiddly, it's a little different in that as you're putting it in there, the chassis actually slides into the front end. That plate that we just put on here, and then the bottom bracket here, it actually slides in between it. So it's sort of this is the meat of the sandwich in between the pieces of bread, I guess is the best way for the analogy. So just be aware when you're putting the chassis together that this piece is going to slide in between this top piece and then this bottom plate right here. So, alright guys, as you can see in the video here, I've got the main chassis attached to the front end. One thing I want to kind of point out is this was a battle. The way the manual has it doing is, you know, you snap all these pieces together and then you obviously bolt it all in. You've got to get the two pieces together. You've got the pins for your bell crank. You've got 2 up here and then a center one, and then there's 4 on the bottom. And what I found is if you go and do these top ones first and then try to line the bottom ones up, it's next to impossible, because you've got, it's hard to see, but there's 4 little bars that come down that the screws from the bottom go into, as you can see right here, these 4. So what I would suggest to you is when you get started on this and you do yours, get these 4 started, get them through the chassis, and then get them to start into this plate here. Don't tighten them down all the way, just get them started. Then go about and put all this stuff in. Now you'll have to kind of go backwards a step, because what it wants you to do is go ahead and run this piece in, these pieces. It wants you to have this piece in place, not bolted in, just held in place by the bell crank pins, screws. But I ended up having to take all that off, fight with it all, and then put it all back together. Ultimately, this ended up being the last piece that I put together, just fighting with it all. So just be aware, it's a fight, but at least you'll know going into it.